What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Hack Connects. In this video, we got Connect number 9, Myiesha Taylor. Welcome to the platform.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
No problem. I appreciate you coming on. You're definitely doing a lot in the community as far as from an educational standpoint, youth development, and community engagement. So I'm happy that you came on. And we also graduated from the best high school in New York, Mount Vernon High School.
Yes, it's so good to see you and connect with you again.
Definitely. So before we jump into the questions, do you want to just give a quick background about yourself?
Yes, so sure. My name is Myiesha Taylor. I am a native of Mount Vernon, New York, but I am of Jamaican descent. As Hack mentioned, I am an English teacher and educator. I'm very interested in family science and youth development. And yeah, that's pretty much it. A little bit about who I am and what I do.
Definitely. And you are a published author as well.
Yes, did I not mention that? Yes, I'm a published author. Yeah. I've actually never said that yet. Those words never really left my mouth yet. So yes, I am. I recently published my book. See it back here. Don't Settle, Fear Less. So that was published in December, actually, 2 months ago.
Definitely. Yeah, as soon as I heard about it, I definitely picked up a copy.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Definitely got gifted. But it's definitely dope, and I want you to definitely just talk to the viewers about it. So can you give like a high level or like just an overview of the book?
Yeah, absolutely. So Don't Settle, Fear Less. It's an interactive guide to conquering fear and living authentically. So it was especially written for brown and Black girls and women. So how I broke it up is that it's broken into 6 chapters, right? And within these chapters, I explore various topics from mental health, identity, friendships, and relationships, purpose, just all of the things. And the book is really filled with personal stories from my life, but there are also reflective journal prompts throughout every chapter because it was really important for me as the women and the girls are reading the book that they'll be able to process and really jot down and question themselves and question where they are in their process. And to also like have it be more captivated, I had an amazing illustrator. Her name is Cheyenne Suku. She did the illustrations for me and they're super vibrant and it really brought the book together. It's actually one of my favorite things from the book. And the overall message, I guess, the main message of the book is really for girls and women to be your true self and to be fearless. And when I speak about being fearless, I'm not necessarily saying that you don't have fear or that being fearless is the absence of fear, but it's really the courage to proceed and to thrive even when fear is present in your life. And so it was just really important for me to provide practical tools for girls and women to live a life of integrity, a life of bravery, and a life of confidence. Because as women, especially women of color, we often find ourselves settling in our careers, in our mental health, in our relationships, and just so many other aspects of our lives. And we don't always realize that the reason we are settling for less and settling for less than what we deserve is because we're living in fear, we're operating in fear. And so many times we have this fear of what I am not, or fear of that I'm not enough, and fear of what if this doesn't work out? And we entertain so much of the what ifs that we don't realize many of the things that can be, or many of the things that currently is taking place in our lives. So that's like the overall thing, yeah.
Definitely, and that's dope. That you have excerpts from the writer's perspective that you mentioned. Just
yes. Oh my gosh, I forgot to mention that. Thank you. See, I get nervous. Yes, I definitely also had excerpts. So I had like about 8 or so writers from all over, from UK, Jamaica, Virginia, like just all over, and they were able to just give a different standpoint. Some of it was in poetry, some of it was in like letter form, and it really brought it to life. I don't necessarily write poetry, it's not my thing, but I know so many girls and women, they love poetry. So yeah, it was really important to me to incorporate other writers in it because I think having different voices, different people will connect with those different voices.
Definitely. Yeah, that's amazing. I think, just bringing different writers together as well as your own writings as well is dope, and, it captures a lot in one book. And, from the male perspective, I think we need a book like that as well, as far as just, everything you mentioned. So that's amazing.
Yes, for sure.
And what inspired you to write this book?
All right, so I'm going to talk about two main things, but just I don't. So one reason why I wrote this book is because of my experience. I wanted to share the lessons that I've learned personally and help other girls and women because I strongly believe that the things you go through aren't for you. So my mindset now is often if I am going through this, then I know that means that someone else is going through this as well, or maybe they will go through this in the future and may need help navigating certain challenges. And there are so many individuals who go through life alone or go through life in isolation because they feel as if no one understands them or that their problem is too big or too uncommon. And so it was important for me to share my lessons, my mistakes, my shortcomings, and to be able to help someone else. So that was really one of my biggest inspirations in doing this because I know that there is such a need and that there are so many people who are suffering in silence or who may not be aware of why they're encountering such certain challenges. But I would say one like huge, one major source of inspiration for me were and are my students. So I always had a desire to work with teenagers, even when I was a teenager myself. So, when we were back in Mount Vernon High School, I was a teenager, but at that time, I'm just like, I want to help the teenagers as if I wasn't a teenager either. But I'm especially drawn to working with young women. And I started an after school program at work for young women, and it continued to show me the need. There's so many young Black and Brown young girls in need of guidance and support and love. And so, working with these young ladies, I've had so many moments in our session where I'm just like, I had and I continue to have these moments of, okay, Myiesha, like this is why you went through that. Like everything you faced, the good things and the bad, have equipped you to be what is needed in this very moment. So my students are such a huge inspiration to me and encourage me to really write this book and to finish it because I did start it and they were always they're like, Miss, where's your book? And yeah, they just always encourage me.
That's amazing. That leads me to my next question. So from a timeline perspective, how long does it take to create like a book of this magnitude? I know you mentioned you had some great illustrations to
Yeah.
publishing. So how long did that take?
Okay, so this is where it gets a little complicated. So, as I mentioned, when I was in high school, I knew that I wanted to write a book at some point, in my life.
Right.
However, during my last semester of undergrad, this was in 2016, about February or March of 2016, I did a lot of writing on fear because I was navigating the path of my own self-discovery. And, I was in the library and the idea just came to me, write a book about fear. So I just said, okay, I'm going to write a book and, I'm going to make it a devotional because my faith plays such a huge part in, who I am and how I navigate life and how I overcome, life's challenges.
Right.
So at the time, it actually started off as a devotional, and the plan was to discuss fear from a biblical standpoint and share different texts and different verses in the Bible that I had been reading and that I was encouraged by. So, I was writing, but I wasn't consistent at all. I would write here and there. And then over time, especially as I began working with my students, the content changed. So in the end of 2017, it was either the end of 2017 or the beginning of 2018. The title, Don't Settle, Fear Less, came to me. And in that moment, I envisioned the book to be exactly what it has come to be now. And so timeline wise, of the final product that we see here today, I would say that the final product started at the end of 2017 with a lot of inconsistency, but I think it was a full year from November 2020 to November 2021 of finalizing the chapters and the edits and the illustrations. And there was still some more inconsistency there within that year, but I was more active in completing the book. My goal was, you need to really sit down and finish. So the timeline from the idea to the final product was about 5 years. But to put everything together as far as publishing and illustrations, it was a year. Because, I also had people editing, and then it would be times where I would read the whole thing and I'm just like, no, that's actually not what I meant. Like, I still don't have those same beliefs because, again, there were certain things that I wrote 4 years ago, but that ideology wasn't a representation of where I am right now. So I had to go back and edit certain things, and then I would have like a random like visual of something I wanted to see in the book, and I would go to Cheyenne, the illustrator, and say, "All right, Cheyenne, actually, can we try this instead?" And she's always so patient with me and like always got it done. So I would say 5 years from the idea to the final product, and then 1 year of the publishing, illustrations, and editing.
Wow. That's amazing. I commend you for, not giving up. You didn't settle, and
Exactly.
making sure that you got everything that you wanted, within the book captured. And it's just amazing as far as, your inspirations which led you to, finish the final draft of your book, and just looking how things worked out in full circle. So that's definitely amazing.
Thank you.
No problem. So as you mentioned, you're an educator, so you're in a position to enlighten your students as far as from a curriculum standpoint. And like you mentioned earlier, you're also a youth development consultant where you're able to play a role on impacting young women, like you mentioned, and just from a community standpoint, just being an impact in a lot of people's lives. So what led you to, finding that passion that you have for that? And when did you make the conscious decision to say, I'm going to really dedicate my time into that?
Yeah, so it's funny, as I'm doing this and as I was preparing for it, I realized that a lot of seeds were planted in high school. But when I was in the 10th grade, I knew that I wanted to become either an English teacher or a child psychologist. And I would go back and forth between the two. But when I was in the 11th grade, I decided to become a high school English teacher because I had an amazing teacher, Mrs. Dupree. She's also in the book. But I had an amazing teacher who allowed me to like really cultivate the skills, and she believed in me and she saw something in me. So I decided to become an English teacher, and I felt that I could combine my passion for literature and helping teenagers. So I became an educator, but I realized very instantly, like within the first month, that my passion didn't fully lie in the classroom teaching grammar and sentence structure, and that I was, and I still am, more passionate about youth in a more holistic standpoint. So more than just academics, more than just writing, more than just this is how you write an essay, I am more interested in serving youth as it relates to looking at the full picture. So that includes family dynamics, mental health, social emotional well-being, and all of those various factors that we may not think about in the classroom. And what caused me to make that conscious decision was the need that I saw around me, and not only with my students, but also in my community. And even from, my first year of teaching, I saw just how much other factors such as, family conflict and mental health impacted student learning. And I always wanted to provide not only a listening ear and advice, but also resources to help combat the many issues that students are facing, especially students who live in urban neighborhoods, right? Or inner city youth. And teaching has been, a vehicle to not only reveal my purpose, but to fulfill it as well. So I think there were different levels from high school up until starting my career that it caused me to make that conscious decision.
Definitely. And, that's cool too, as well. Like you mentioned, coming from an inner city, sometimes there might not be a lot of resources. Maybe the school districts may not be able to fund or have the capacity to allow for certain after school programs or mentorship. So, again, it's definitely amazing what you're doing as far as, impacting the youth. And I'm sure they appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm not even
Thank you.
a little older now, but it's definitely applaud you for that. So that's great.
Thank you so much.
Definitely. So you also have a YouTube platform, and yeah, I came across that, and I like your platform. Definitely has a lot of different gems in there. And one of the things that I did like was the Black men mental health. I know you touched on that a little bit earlier. So, what made you want to start that up as far as conducting interviews with, young Black African American men and, talk about mental health?
Yeah, this is something that we can talk about all day, every day. But in June of 2020, I had this idea to interview Black men and discuss mental health for Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. So I came up with this idea because I think that many Black men have been conditioned to not be expressive or not to be in tune with their emotions because they've learned over time that being a man is not feeling emotions. And if you do feel those emotions, then you can't express it unless it's anger, right? For some reason, anger is the only emotion that it seems to be okay to express. And from a young age, many have been taught to, man up, like to provide, and have learned all of these false notions and fallacies of what it means to be a man, which leads to suppression, identity crisis, and lack of communication and articulation of how they really feel. So I thought it would be cool to give, some Black men I knew an outlet to share and address some of the common narratives. And for me, I think that we forget how fragile men can be. Yes, I know you guys don't like the word fragile, but it's not a bad thing. How fragile men can be, and especially Black men who are constantly being torn down or targeted in their workplace, in their homes by law enforcement. And I think that it is important for us to create a safe space for Black men to feel and to process, to learn, and to grow. And so some of the interviews I did within that series feature topics on Black men navigating healthy romantic relationships, financial management, toxic masculinity, social justice, social inequality, and spirituality. And this is something that I will definitely be doing again this year. I would love for you to, join in this year in June. And I plan to do way more interviews and have more of a platform with that, because I think that for interviews is never enough, and there's always space and time for that.
No, for sure. Yeah, definitely dope. I definitely enjoyed watching a couple of them. I gotta catch up on a couple of them, but yeah, I think that's a topic like you mentioned, that it's kind of hidden a little bit as far as from a male perspective, speaking about emotions, speaking about just how people are feeling on a day to day. I think as males, I'll speak for a few. We'll keep everything surface level, a little black and white, and not really go into detail. So it's good to see that we do have vulnerabilities and we're able to, speak on certain things. So I like that. I like that series a lot.
Yes, definitely be more.
Definitely, I'll be on the lookout for that. So for the rest of the year, 2022, what do you have planned? Like different events do you have, or are you working on another book?
So, okay. So in 2022, I definitely plan, I was telling you this a little earlier, but I plan to be more consistent with YouTube. The thing about me is I will never kind of be the person that says, every a video every Tuesday, right? I just try to create content based on how I feel led to do that. But I definitely plan to do more YouTube videos, especially as it relates to the book and different lessons and concepts in the book. So I'll definitely be having way more YouTube videos. And next month in March, I will be starting my podcast. I'm really excited about it because I've been wanting to do that for a while, but just waiting for the appropriate time to do that. So I'll be having a podcast, and within the podcast, it'll be similar to my YouTube channel where I'll discuss a lot about fear, womanhood, family science, youth development, faith, and all of the things that I'm passionate about. And another thing that I'll be doing this year that I started to do is visit after school programs. I'll actually be going back to Mount Vernon High School. It was supposed to be this Tuesday, but it was postponed. But in March, I'll be going to Mount Vernon High School and having an assembly with the students, which I'm really excited about, and just visiting other schools and after school programs and other youth serving organizations to really share about the book, but also the lessons in the book. So those are the main things. As far as another book, not for this year, no.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're definitely doing a lot. You're giving back. You got your hands in a lot of places, so it's definitely amazing. And where can the viewers find you, and where can they get your book?
So yes, as far as where you guys can purchase the book, you can get it on Amazon. You just type in my name or the book, and you'll be able to purchase it. Also, my website will be coming up in like a week, so maybe by the time this is out, I'm not sure. But also on my website, which is myieshartaylor.com, and my Instagram is myiesha.taylor. So maybe you want me to personally ship it to you, I could also do that as well.
Definitely, I'll leave all that in the description below. So Myiesha, it's great chopping up with you. I'm happy to see everything that you're doing and reconnecting. So
yes, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I don't take it lightly, so thank you.
No problem, no problem. So I definitely look forward to everything that you got in store. Let me know about that Mount Vernon High School event too. I think that's good.
Yes, I definitely will.
Definitely. Yep. So we'll be in touch, and I look forward to everything that you got going on.
Thank you so much.